What's up, ladies and gentlemen? That is Dustin Esquire Barkley. Right here is Brent Robert Namco. And we're talking about your tight ends. What is your middle name? Michael?
Matthew.
Matthew. Close enough. We're talking about our tight end strategy for the 2018 fantasy football season. Basically, we look at ADP, what we're thinking when we go into a draft. Do we want to take the stud guys? Do we want to wait? That's what these videos are for.
Be sure to check out our most up-to-date draft guide. Click on the link in the description. We'll be updating it throughout the preseason. So be sure to check back often and download it right before your draft because it will be probably updated if you downloaded it earlier. So looking at tight ends, the draft strategy, it doesn't change a ton every year. You know, you got your first, your top 3 or your 4 guys that you're kind of excited, you're really excited about, and then your mid-tier guys, and then your late round guys. And this year, the top 2, it's kind of 1A, 1B with Gronk and Kelsey. And then you got Ertz just a little bit after them. So those are your top 3, the guys you're going to have to pay the most on draft day. And looking at Gronk, his ADP is about the same as what it was last year, right around 23. And everyone's, oh, he's as healthy as he's ever been. Like, this is the year he goes back to his old self. And there's just too many injuries. At 23, we think that's a little steep. And then you got Kelsey at 27. That's paying top dollar. I mean, that's probably right where he should go, but he did have concussion issues, even though he hasn't missed a ton of games, and he does have a new quarterback. So there's still a little bit of worry there at the 27th pick, and then Ertz at 34, which seems like that's a decent spot for him. I mean, he still has, I don't know if we've seen his best season yet, and that offense, the sky's the limit really in terms of how many points that offense could score. So, you're going to have to pay a hefty price for these guys on draft day, but for a reason. I mean, for a reason. There is some risk there, but these guys are studs. They're the top guys for a reason. They could have monster years.
If they go with their ADP that you listed, who would you want out of those 3?
It'd be, I don't like Gronk at 23, but it would be a coin flip for Kelsey and Ertz. I mean, if I wanted a top tight end, I think that's a fair price.
I think if I'm at 34, 35 and Ertz there, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
I mean, that's, again, I think that's a fair value. Gronk, I think, is going about, I think him and Ertz should, or him and Kelsey should almost go like right next to each other. I know it's only half a round, but in the early rounds,
could mean a lot.
That's kind of a big deal.
All right, it's tight ends, so you know what happens. It's called a tight end run. You've all been in it. You've all panicked when you've seen it happening. This year, it's going to happen right around pick 60. So keep that in mind as you're drafting. Typically, it starts with Jimmy Graham. His ADP keeps rising, and that's because, oh, Green Bay finally has a stud tight end. They're finally going to use a tight end. We heard that when they got Bennett, when they got Cook, when they got Finley. And of course, Jimmy's the best out of all of those guys, talent-wise, but he's also got a lot of injury concerns. So just be careful with that. But when that tight end run happens, you're going to see Jimmy go. You're going to see Evan Ingram go, Olsen, Rudolph, Walker. Don't feel like you have to grab a tight end because the run's happening. As Dustin's going to tell you, there's some later round guys that we do like, so don't get too worried about the run. But if you are in a PPR league, Olsen and Walker, the 2 guys I like to see move up. I would even take Olsen probably over Jimmy in a full point PPR.
So all those guys that Brent just mentioned, I mean, yes, they are safer than the guys after them, but I think the guys after them have just as high, if not higher, upside. So if it's me, if I miss out on Kelsey or Ertz, I think I'm just waiting and getting some of these later guys. And the guys past them, we were talking before the show, they seem more exciting than they have in years past. When you look at kind of Njoku, O.J. Howard, Kittle, Trey Burton, even Jordan Reed, this might be the year he finally stays healthy. But all of those guys have monster upsides. Obviously they're not as proven, so they got to go a little bit later. But if you miss out on early round or mid-tier guys, there's still a lot of fun, exciting guys that you can get later. And we were talking too, like last year, where we suggested pairing up Ebron and Ertz. Like this year, if you can get Kittle and Burton, I mean, the odds of one of them being a tight end 1, at least a low end tight end 1, are pretty high. You grab them both in the later rounds, and see how they do at the beginning of the year. Eventually, you'll probably have to cut one during bye weeks, but...
Right, so that's our strategy. If one of those top 3 slip or go at a spot that we feel good about, so if Gronk goes later than he should, or Kelsey, or you can get Ertz right where his ADP is, we're grabbing them. If not, we're avoiding the middle, we're avoiding the pick 60 tight end run, and then we're gonna get 2 of the, the Burton Kittle type people. That's the way that we look at it. You can't go into a draft saying, in the 3rd round, I'm going to take a tight end, and then in this round, I'm going to do this, and then that. You have to see the ebbs and flows of the draft. So for us, it's like, hey, we either get a stud or we get two of the guys late, or maybe one of those guys in the middle rounds and Olsen just starts slipping and he's picked 75 and it's value, so you grab him there.
Yeah, I mean, if any of those guys in the middle slip further, I mean, Ingram, he's still an exciting guy, but if he's going where his ADP is, then it's just like,
yeah, let it go.
Yeah, I'd rather have a Kittle or get him, you know.
Don't get caught up in the runs. Don't get scared.
So that's our tight ends. We'll be doing all the other positions. Check out our other videos. We got a lot more coming this preseason, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Football!
Yeah!